Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. Glad you joined us today. We're going to have a great show on parasitology with Dr. Gregg Hanzlicek here from Kansas State University's Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory. We're glad you joined us, and I hope you enjoy this show.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Greg, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Folks, this is Dr. Gregg Hanzlicek. He is a veterinarian, and he is with the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory here at Kansas State University. Does a lot with field investigations. You do a lot of work. He has a lot of experience as a bovine practitioner, and we're lucky to have him here at Kansas State University serving our state and beyond the boundaries of the state, and thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
So we're going to talk about parasites, and there's all kinds of them, right?
Lots of parasites, yep.
Externals, internals, different types of internals, but let's start by talking about the ones that are buzzing around out there around our head in the summer.
The flies right
Yep.
now, and we're getting into fly season, and if you drive around the country, you'll see the cows are now starting to be irritated by the horn flies and the face flies, so yep, it's an important topic.
Yep. And some of the things that, you're exactly right. We see the cattle bunching up and swishing, and of course we're going to have some issues that follow with the flies. But what are some of the things or concerns that we have with the flies with cattle?
Well, and it depends on what type of fly we're talking about. We talk about face flies. They're flies that they spend a very small amount of time on the animal. They feed on the eye juices, the nose juices. The thing we're worried most about them is pink eye.
Right.
They transmit the bacteria from animal to animal. Talk about horn flies. Horn flies are actually the ones on the back, and you know that, but
yep.
I don't know why we named them horn flies, but they're not on the horns, but they're bloodsuckers, and they feed 20 to 30 times a day. And if you go out there, and especially if you look at those bulls, they have thousands upon thousands of flies on them, and they're an irritant. So they keep the cows and the bulls and the calves from grazing, from nursing, from producing milk and doing those kind of things.
Cool. And so we have different types of diseases, and everybody associates the pink eye and vector-borne type diseases. What are some of the things that people are doing these days out there to kind of help with the flies? What are some management practices that we can enlist or use?
That's a great question. Number one are fly tags.
Yep.
Use of the insecticide fly tags. Of all the things that we can use, it probably is the most effective. And I say that because we really don't have control over the face flies because they don't spend enough time on the animal. If we use pour-ons or back rubbers or any of those kind of things, those flies come and go, so they don't have much experience or access to the insecticide, but the fly tag helps with those. But the fly tag also helps with the horn flies and the other flies we're concerned with.
Yep, and then I'm assuming that there's some things we can do environmentally, knocking down weeds and cleaning up old bell rings and things to that nature as well.
There is, because the face flies and the stable flies, they don't spend any time on the animal. They live in old vegetation and rotten feed and those kind of things. So cleaning up those areas will reduce the area where they can lay their eggs. So that's a good fly control program for them environmentally.
Cool. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Dr. Hanzlicek on parasites, and we'll move from outside the cow to inside the cow. You're watching DocTalk, and we're sure glad you joined us.
Through the generosity of Dr. Eva Gardner and Dr. Dan Thompson, Kansans now have the opportunity to support the wildfire relief effort by purchasing a signed and numbered print of the original painting, A Walk Through Henry's Dreams, by Dr. Gardner. This gallery quality print is only $200. Order your print today online or call 785-273-5115. Please help support the Kansas Livestock Foundation Wildfire Relief Fund.
Broadband has become as important to us as highways. That is why DocTalk is teaming up with NTCA, the Rural Broadband Association, and rural broadband companies like Blue Valley Telecommunications in fighting for quality broadband access through the program Smart Rural Communities.
I don't think we have any idea what's coming in the future. I couldn't have imagined 5 years ago what we're doing today. So in 2 years, I would guess there's things we can't imagine that we're going to be doing.
To learn more, visit ntca.org/smart or bluevalley.net.
Support Kansas agriculture education with an AgriTag. AgriTags are available anytime at your county treasurer. They look great on cars and trucks. For more information, go online to ksagclassroom.org.
DocTalk, brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook, or visit us online at sftmeats.com.
Folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson, Dr. Gregg Hanzlicek, and Dr. Hanzlicek is with the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory, where you do a lot of different things, wears a lot of different hats, but is always out in the field and always working with practitioners and producers and where the rubber meets the road. And Greg, when we talk about parasites, we'll move from outside to inside the animal. Let's talk about some of the internals and what are some of the different species that we should be most concerned with when it comes to cattle.
That's a great question. Cattle have lots of different species of worms. The main one we're concerned with is one called Ostertagia, and it lives in the stomach. Causes certain things like malnutrition, suppresses immunity, those kind of things. Some of the other worms we're mainly concerned about, the Capurias, they live in the small intestine. We know that they have an effect on the gain of calves that are in pasture. Homunculus is another one that's not so much in this area, mainly a southeast worm. Those are the three main ones that we're actually concerned about today.
Okay, and so when we're looking at those types of worms, and again, they're all going to affect performance or conception rates or body condition scores and things to that nature. What are some of your recommendations? And of course, we always recommend work with your local practitioner because they're the ones that are living there and know the cattle and the climate and. But what are some of the things, some general concepts on parasite control?
Some of the major things to think about is that, just like you said, most of the effects are things that you don't probably recognize. So most of the problems we have with internal parasites are subclinical. We can't see them unless we actually measure them. The other thing about internal parasites is that it is becoming a controversial subject as far as how we should manage them in the cow-calf operation. But a part of that is that we have to remember that 90% of the worms that these calves and cows have access to are actually in the pasture. Only 10% of them are actually in the animals. And so pasture, how do we control the environment and maintain the environment is very, very important for this disease.
Cool. We have a lot of different products out there. We've got injectable, we've got the ivermectins, the avermectins, we've got drenches, the fenbendazoles, and we've got porons too. Any preferences or any thoughts on that, or use one?
Well, there's two thoughts. One is that we do know, literature shows and research shows that with the avermectins, that compound, we are starting to see some resistance in the worms. But if you look at other countries that use the other products also, we're seeing resistance to basically all those products.
And then the second point would be?
Well, a really good recommendation for producers is let's deworm the adult animals when they go to pasture. That way we're reducing pasture contamination. The calves are going to pick up the worms in the pasture, and let's deworm everybody when we come off the pasture. Let's clean them up. So we're doing two things. We're making sure the pasture doesn't have a high load of parasites, but we know animals are going to pick up those parasites. Let's clean them up when we get off the pasture. It's a pretty simple program.
Yep, and it sounds like great advice to clean the environment and then clean up the cattle as we come off.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about coccidiosis. You're watching DocTalk, and we're glad you joined us.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I wanted to do it. So we did it, and it worked. And I'm not going to go out and dig trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
We do business with Blueville because of the quality of their work. It is excellent quality, and because they make a commitment to their customers.
We enjoy the benefits of hiring a good company to help us maintain this home.
We will always do business with Blueville. We have for many, many years, and there's no reason for us to look for any other service.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop liquid crop nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
Now another gardening tip with Annette Jackson.
For the greenest, healthiest, weed-free lawn in your neighborhood, the Fertilome Lawn Care program is the best. Fertilome Lawn Care products provide your lawn with the exact ingredients for proper fertilization and weed prevention. Jackson's friendly staff will call you to let you know when to apply the next step. We can also do it for you, so call or stop in now.
The Fertilome Lawn Care program is still available at last year's prices, but hurry, time is limited.
Hey there, folks. I'm Dr. Dan from DocTalk. On behalf of myself and the staff at Drovers, I'd like to invite you to our Cow-Calf Cowboy College in West Des Moines, Iowa on June 20th and 21st. We're going to have speakers such as Mike Apley, Tom Knopfsinger, Chris Reinhardt, and Mr. Dave Nichols from Nichols Angus Farm. For registration, please visit droverscowboycollege.com or call us at 1-877-482-7203. I hope to see you all there.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
DocTalk, brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Gregg Hanzlicek, and he is with the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory at Kansas State University. And Greg, we're talking about parasites, and one of them I know that you've done quite a bit of work with and looked at is coccidiosis.
Yes.
And you know, a lot of times we don't consider coccidiosis a parasite out in the country. We think of it more as like a bacteria or something we're going to treat for that, because we do treat differently than what we do for our internal parasites. And really, this is a parasite.
It is a parasite, and it is closely related to the cryptos and some of those other things, but it is an internal small intestine parasite.
Okay, and what are some of the, I think one of the things that producers don't understand is how common it is.
It's actually probably the most common disease other than bovine respiratory disease that we deal with calves that are around weaning, just before or just after weaning on the cow-calf side.
And there can be a subacute, kind of a non-clinical carriage of these?
Absolutely. Just like the other internal parasites, what you see is only a very small percentage of what's actually going on in the rest of the animals.
Right. So not only do we have the opportunity of having clinical disease from this parasite, but we can have the subclinical that's causing us lost performance, lost conversion of that grass or that cow's milk or feed when they get into the grow yard.
That's exactly right. And with coccidia, it causes severe malnutrition if the numbers of those organisms are severe enough in the intestine. Those calves are eating what they should, but they're not absorbing those nutrients. And so we've got a malnutrition which has a huge impact on their immunity. So that's why we know that calves that have a heavy coccidia burden are more susceptible to other diseases like bovine respiratory disease, maybe pink eye, those other kind of diseases. So it's important.
Okay, so how are some ways that we can prevent or treat for coccidia on these calves that are, in different stages?
Well, that's a great question. One thing to remember is that every facility has coccidia. It's
Right.
a normal inhabitant of all bovines, and so animals have it, they're passing it through the manure. So one of the best ways to prevent a really severe coccidia outbreak is to concentrate on manure buildup.
Okay.
The other thing is standing water. When we have standing water where an animal with coccidiosis will defecate in the water, now all that cocci's in the water, what do animals like to do? They like to drink out of those. Now we're inoculating the whole population to large doses of coccidia.
Yeah, I used to get into some of those cocci outbreaks on cattle when we'd get into that freeze-thaw cycle where it'd be warm during the day and thaw out and freeze at night, and the cattle would drink groundwater and
Absolutely.
and really have some tough times those times of the year. Any compounds or anything, if I do get into a cocci wreck, that you recommend or think about?
There are some good products on the market, and we're talking mainly products that you'd have to feed in a bunk, so it'd probably post-weaning kind of thing, but Corid, Amprolium,
Yep.
that's a product that's really effective, not only for treatment, but also for prevention. So those they come in a pellet, you can get them in a liquid to put them in the water or feed them in a pellet, very effective products.
Perfect. Folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more with Dr. Hanzlicek on parasites. You're watching Doc Talk. Thanks for joining us.
When looking at the number of farm and ranch operations, the USDA Census of Agriculture says cattle and beef production is the largest single segment of American agriculture. The census also says the average age of the American cattle farmer or rancher is in the late 50s. In order to support the continuous supply of U.S. beef, these producers need to do some business planning to successfully transfer their cattle operations to younger, independent producers.
I'm Joe Mushrush with Mushrush Red Angus, and my ancestors have been in this part of the world. Well, they walked in after the Civil War from Virginia. My dad was the start of Mushrush Red Angus. When we come back from college, we had about 100 cows, was working mainly part-time. My wife Connie and I, once we took over, tried to expand rapidly, making it into a full-time operation. We have told our kids that any of them that wish to return to the ranch, why we would do our level best to make a spot for them. And so far, our oldest son Daniel is now back full-time with us, and some of the others have expressed a desire to return, and so we have dedicated most of what we do into creating a spot and making a viable entity for anybody that wants to come back.
In an effort to get more of our family back on the business, we've started our own meat company. And so when we can take, say, a flat iron or a petite tender, and our local packing house has the knowledge and the ability to turn that into a higher retail cut, we'll sell those retail cuts quicker, and we'll sell them for 3 to 4 times the price of what we would sell them without some of those cuts being available to us.
The beef checkoff allows us to do something that we can't do on our own. We do not have the time or resources or the knowledge to go out and approach consumers on our own. By pooling our resources with other producers, it allows us to reach those consumers that we otherwise would not have any way to reach. And by combining our resources and our voice, why hopefully we can make a difference.
And I hope one day that my children will be here on the ranch. And so we need to be able to be responsive to the demands of future generations that we may not even be aware of, and the checkoff helps our industry do that.
Hey folks, Dr. Dan here, and I want you to join us in Kearney, Nebraska on May 11th for a stockmanship clinic. We're going to talk about how to work cattle in teams. We're going to talk about cattle handling techniques and much more. Experts from across the country are going to be there. Dr. Tom Knopfsinger, Kurt Pate, Ted Howard, Kip Luga-Savage, myself, many more are going to be there to work with you on this clinic. Go to packdvms.com to get the agenda and to register.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Healthy cows start with the new hired hand automatic livestock sprayer. Rancher invented to provide an efficient alternative to pour-on and injectable parasite management systems. The portable design allows cattle to treat themselves head to hoof. Strategic device placement with pass-through activation technology takes the stress out of parasite treatment for cattle and the rancher, leaving more time to tend to other vital tasks on the farm. To learn more, visit cowsprayer.com. The new hired hand makes healthy cows easy.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Gregg Hanzlicek. We're at Kansas State University where Gregg works at the Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory, works with field investigation. He directs our outreach programs and much more, and we're fortunate to have him here on the show, and we've had a great show talking about parasites. And one of the things that you and I talked about during the break was talking about some of the things that has to do with resistance, and really what I'm talking about is with the flies.
Absolutely. We talked about earlier how fly tags are probably the most used product for control of flies. They are effective, but there are certain things that we need to keep in mind if we're using that product for fly control. And one is resistance. We know that if we use the same chemical product year after year, we're going to breed flies that become resistant to that insecticide. So if people are using pyrethroids and organophosphate tags, which most are, it's important they use 2 years of pyrethroids. The third year they use an organophosphate, then they go back to pyrethroids for 2 years. That rotation will reduce the opportunity for resistance.
That makes a lot of sense, and you know, when we have cows and perennial animals on the farm, important to get things removed.
Absolutely, and that's the other important thing is that fly tags are great, and when we put them in, there's a lot of insecticide there, but through time, that amount of insecticide is going to be reduced. And so if we're not taking those insecticide tags out in the fall and getting rid of them, what we're doing is exposing flies to very, very small amounts of insecticide. So the only flies we're killing are those that are the most susceptible to that insecticide, and we're breeding those that are resistant.
And it makes a lot of sense then that, you know, we got the cows caught before we go to pasture, deworm them, put the fly tags in, bring the cows out in the fall. We're going to preg check, just have somebody up there cutting tags out.
Absolutely. That's a simple program that does work.
You bet. I know you do a lot of work at the D-Lab, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but you know, what's kind of your philosophy of just producers working with their practitioner?
Of course, I'm a practitioner, and I still consider myself to be a practitioner. But I was a producer once in my life too. But that interaction between producers and their local veterinarian is really key to not only producers thriving during the good times like it is now for cow-calf operators, but really surviving during the hard times, which there's a lot of hard times. That relationship, those producers relying on their veterinarian to provide them with the latest information on prevention and treatment and management of their herds is really vital to everybody.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I know one thing is that you are a practitioner first and foremost, and what you do and how you work for the practitioners of the state and beyond is much appreciated.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Folks, Dr. Gregg Hanzlicek. Thanks for joining us today on DocTalk. If you want to know more about what we do on DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. Thanks for watching DocTalk today, folks. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, and I'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com.